And happy Wednesday afternoon. On today's show, we have updates from Fabrizio Romano on the Ugarte story. What will Manchester United's next bid will be? Will it be another bid? How concrete is this Ugarte story? And is he the player we should bring to Old Trafford? Also, some updates on Leny Yoro. That name keeps tripping up. Some updates from Yoro from Lille as well. Manchester United are in that race and they've clarified that to Lille within the last 48 hours as well. A really good update on that. Yoro still is on to Manchester United despite a lot of reports and a lot of people thinking it's definitely going to be Real Madrid. I think Real Madrid are definitely the most likely option, but Manchester United have made it clear that they're still in that race. Also a little bit around Everton. We've tried palming off a few of our players onto them and they're saying nope. They want the money for Branthwaite and that is it. They don't want swap deals. Going to talk a little bit about that. And where does that actually place the players that we have? The fact that Everton won't even entertain them coming to their club. I think that shows where this squad is at right now and why we need improvements all over the pitch. Also, the naming rights of the stadium, Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos talking about renaming Old Trafford. What do you think about that? Let's run a poll on that straight away. Would you be open to Old Trafford being renamed as part of a new stadium or refurbishment to get money in so we can get the best of the best? And I'm talking like the Spotify new camp, that sort of vibe. Would you be open to that? Getting your opinions in the chat. Get all your super chats in, get interactive, and yeah, it's going to be a good show, everyone. I've got my opinions on the stadium stuff, and honestly, I don't think a lot of people are going to like what I have to say on it, but stay tuned. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on the show. We're going to do transfer stuff first as well. I mean, a lot of people talking about my Brazil top. Yep, got my Brazil top on today, everyone. But bringing a bit of colour, considering the sun's out in Manchester. Not interfering with the Euros. I'm going down the Copa America route today. So, yeah, I've got my Brazil top going on. But regarding Ugarte, who is also competing in Copa America, but for Uruguay, this is what Fabrizio Romano had to say. He said, for now, United's priorities are still a centre-back, a left-back and a striker. But in the midfield, there could be some movement as well. I find that really interesting because we know about the centre-back. Matt spoke on the morning show about us trying to get lawyers involved in the Todibo stuff. We know about Branthwaite. Yoro we're going to speak about in a second. Striker, we know we're trying to do something surrounding Joshua Zirkzee as well. And we've also looked at Bayo. We've looked at Jonathan David. We've definitely looked at Ivan Toney, so we're looking on the striker route. Regarding the left-back, is a top 3 priority, according to Romano there. Romano said that we're definitely going to buy a left-back for months. We've literally heard nothing. We've heard nothing. We've heard a little bit about Kirkez, but nothing really fully about that. So the left-back one's a mysterious one for me. It's definitely one to watch because who are we going for? I have no idea. The Kirkez stuff is literally just, murmurs. It's nothing serious. So it'll be interesting, that left-back. And we need a good left-back to come in, really, because Luke Shaw isn't reliable. Malacia, who knows what's going on with that. So the left-back's definitely one to watch. But in midfield, there could be some movement as well. Basically, if Casemiro goes, we're going to bring in a midfielder. It's looking very likely that Casemiro is going to go to Saudi Arabia. He's open to the move. Saudi want to propose a deal to Casemiro. They want to bring him there. I think that deal will happen. So he then goes on to say Ugarte could be an option. He could be one to watch, but let's see if it turns into anything more concrete. And on Ugarte, the rumours are that PSG want 50 million for him. So basically the same fee as what they paid for him from Sporting Lisbon last summer. I think they paid around 60 million euros, which I worked it out, came to about 51 million pounds. So they basically want the same fee. Considering he's not had a tremendous season at PSG, Enrique clearly doesn't fancy him. You'd like to think you'd get that price down a little bit. Apparently, United's first initial proposal was around the 30 million mark, which is a fair proposal. If you could meet in the middle around 40 million, I personally think that would be a good deal. I spoke on the show yesterday, if you haven't seen that, about why I think this player would be a brilliant addition to Manchester United and why I do really like him. It's about complementary partnerships. Him and Mainu, I think, would gel together really nicely. So let's wait and see if anything develops there. But I definitely think you could see that start to speed up if we hear about Casemiro, which hopefully we'll get to hear soon about. Because, speaking of Brazil, Casemiro isn't playing for Brazil in Copa America. I know he's on his holidays, but Saudi Arabia should be approaching him any time. And if we can get that deal moving and off the ground, it's all down to Saudi, really, what proposal they put forward for Casemiro. That would really accelerate our position to go and do something for the midfield and go and get Ugarte. Keep getting your comments down in the chat, but I've seen a few people say why would we just give PSG the money to go and get João Neves? The fact of the matter is, everyone, we can't afford 120 million euros for João Neves this summer, and Benfica are insisting on that release clause. There's rumours that they need to make a little bit of money, Benfica, but according to Romano, according to top-tier sources, Benfica aren't budging on 120 million euros for this summer on João Neves. United can't afford that. Whether we give PSG the money to do it or not, we can't afford to do that. So maybe we'll have to explore away from our top option. I mean, if I had the option between Ugarte and João Neves now to Man United, I would go with João Neves. But I think Ugarte is a very good prospect at 23 with a lot of development at a good price. And remember Omar Barada, our new CEO, remember his appearance in that City documentary. We've got to get a deal that both combines financial compatibility and footballing compatibility. João Neves has got the footballing compatibility, the financial compatibility isn't there. I think Ugarte has the football compatibility, but he does also have the financial compatibility as well. So let's see how that develops. One interesting thing though on that is another outlet, a London outlet, iNews, said that, but it was the one that said that PSG want around 50 million for him and that a Premier League club are interested. Another Premier League club are interested. So the fact it's a London outlet, iNews, you could suggest it might be a London club. Bear in mind, we know Chelsea like to latch onto every single deal. Chelsea were interested in Ugarte last summer before he went to PSG. There was concrete interest there from Chelsea. So Chelsea might be a competitor on this deal for Ugarte, so I would keep an eye out on that one. Also, I doubt Arsenal would go in for him, but I know Ugarte had a phenomenal performance against Arsenal when he was playing for Sporting, so potentially, I mean, I doubt it. They are in the market for a midfielder, but I would keep an eye on Chelsea on that one as well, because a couple of other clubs are definitely looking at Ugarte. A number of other clubs, Juventus was one as well, and also Premier League club, which from that London outlet, I would suggest it is a London team, and that could be, you know, Spurs, Arsenal, Chelsea, but it makes sense to be Chelsea because Chelsea were in for him last summer as well. Getting the poll though on your Old Trafford naming rights as well, getting your super chats regarding the transfer news, and let me know all of your opinions. Hit a like on the video as per usual. Amy Hambling says, just get Neves. Manchester United need to stop messing around. I mean, we don't have 120 million, Amy. I wish we did. We don't have 120 million euros to spend on João Neves. 105 million pounds if you look at it in pound sterling, which is what we deal with in England and over here in Great Britain. We don't have that money, so as much as I would love us to go and get João Neves, the money isn't there, so you've got to look at other options. The Euro news, Michael McCarthy says, we'll go on to that in a second. Gaz says it's not 120 million, it'll be about 30 million off our budget as it will be paid in instalments, so we won't be handing the whole lot over in one hit. Yeah, I understand that point. I understand amortization, I get that. But it's still a massive, massive chunk of money. I would love to bring João Neves in. I would love to. I would love to. But it's a massive, massive chunk of money to be spending when we've got a stadium to be getting. We are under restrictions in terms of financial fair play. I understand amortisation and everything like that, but we've got to get outgoings going as well. And we've basically, multiple news outlets have said United aren't going to spend over 70, 80 million on one single player. So it does put a spanner in the works, it really does, in terms of, yes, we can spend more than what's being rumoured. That £50 million budget is, in my opinion, not true. Like, I would file that under, you know what I'm saying, under stuff that isn't true, basically. It's early in the day, so I'm not gonna start swearing, but we've got more than that to spend, but we still don't have an unlimited budget, and we still are under pressure in terms of spending and what we can spend due to the amount of money we've wasted on previous deals that we're still paying back. Anthony, you know, Sancho, stuff like that. We've wasted money in the past, so we've just got to be careful. And João Neves for 120 million euros is out of our budget this summer. Under BS. That's a good one, Emma. Under BS. But onto the Euro stuff, let's move into that. So the centre-back issue that Manchester United have, obviously really trying to get Branthwaite in. That deal is moving pretty slowly because Everton are insisting on 70 million. Manchester United don't want to pay that, and they're saying they're going to walk away, but they do really want the player. And in terms of the right-sided centre-back, Todibo was basically nailed on. He was about to sign. UEFA came in, blocked that deal. We all know about that. We all know we're now getting lawyers involved to try and sort out that Todibo deal. I think that will take a long time, to be honest. Court cases take a while. But other players we've been looking at, one player was Yoro from Lille. And now I've heard Mark speak a lot about this on the show, saying he thinks our name was maybe being used by Lille to get PSG to pay the money, to get Real Madrid to pay the money, because Yoro's dream is to go to Real Madrid. He wants to go to Real Madrid. Real Madrid know that Yoro wants that move. Real Madrid want him, but a fee hasn't quite been figured out for Yoro yet. But the player is going to move this summer. There's also interest from PSG, Liverpool and Manchester United. And now the other day, I was watching Fabrizio Romano's live stream in the evening on his own channel, and he mentioned Yoro, and he said Real Madrid are favourites, but PSG and Liverpool are also highly monitoring Yoro and they really like him. And he didn't mention Manchester United, so I messaged Mark and I was like, that's weird, because he's not even mentioned Manchester United when we're supposed to be in for him. And we were saying, you know what, it's probably paper talk trying to use our name to get Real Madrid to go and pay the money for Yoro. But then this morning, Fabrizio Romano said, on the centre-back issue, I can reveal again, in the last 24 to 48 hours, Manchester United called Lille again to make all parties aware of their interest. So Manchester United are keeping tabs on Yoro. They have called up Lille within the last 48 hours to say, we really are interested in this player and we'd like to try and get a deal done. It's clearly just about Yoro, and he's waiting for Real Madrid. And in a race with Real Madrid, you're not going to win. But if that Real Madrid deal collapses, Manchester United are right in the forefront there, ready to swoop in. So what do you think about that? Do you think there's any possibility it's going to happen? I think it's a really interesting player. It's a lot of pressure to come in at 18 years old, I'm not going to lie, because he would be starting for Manchester United for the fee that would pay for him, and you know, coming in as a right-sided centre-back, he's the Varane replacement, basically. So you would be starting in at 18 years old. It's a lot of pressure. I know he's super talented. He's got a massively high ceiling. His attributes are insane. Like the way he's developed in the French league, what he was doing last year for Lille was incredible. At 18 years old, he's very, very advanced. But it is a lot of pressure to bring him in. So what do you make about that? And do you think it would get done? To be honest, I think Real Madrid are going to end up getting it done. I think they will. And as much as I can understand why the player wants to go to Real Madrid, because they've just come off the back of winning the Champions League, La Liga, you know, they're flying, they've got Mbappe, they've got Bellingham, they've got Camavinga, they've got Valverde, they've got Rodrigo, they've got Vinicius Jr., they've got all the names, so I can understand why you'd want to go to Real Madrid. You want players that want to come to United and are excited to go to United. And I'm not saying he wouldn't be if he signed for United. And the one thing I would say is you're going to get more game time at United than you would at Real Madrid, in my opinion. But now I think Nacho's just left, hasn't he, from Real Madrid. That's been confirmed. So that might speed up the Yoro deal, which basically would pull us out of it. But even if Real Madrid did drop out, do you win the race against PSG's home country and Liverpool, who have got Champions League football to offer? I mean, Liverpool have got Konate and Van Dijk, so he's not going to be going in and starting. So game time we can offer more than what Liverpool can offer. Also, it's a bit of a risk under a new coach, potentially. I'm just trying to kind of do glass half full here. And then PSG, I've said it multiple times, if I was a player, I don't think it's that much of an attractive prospect in terms of competing. So Man United could be in there, but I think it's a little bit of a pipe dream, to be honest with you. Wolf Wall says never fights with Real Madrid in financial things. Yeah, I mean, Real Madrid are just so dominant, aren't they? Keel Robinson says we should raid Madrid's bench. I mean, we always raid Madrid for the players that are past it, don't we, really? I mean, Varane I loved. Casemiro was great for one season. But realistically, like Sir Jim Ratcliffe says, we want to be like Madrid. We don't want to be taking Madrid's cast-offs. We don't want to be losing transfer battles to Madrid. We want to be competing on Madrid's level, and that's a way long time off. Their ownership is super competitive and ambitious. I mean, they went from winning the Champions League to the next day signing Mbappe. Like, Madrid are just European giants. Like, they're a massive club. United are also a massive club, but on the pitch, we are miles behind them, but we want to eventually be competing with them, and you don't do that by going down the continuous route that we have been doing, which is, you know, signing players that, you know, are maybe coming towards the end of their career at Real Madrid. And I know by raiding the bench, it doesn't necessarily mean the older players, but we want to be creating our own talent, our own players, and doing things our own way. If Real Madrid has a player that we're interested in that would suit us, okay, yeah, I'd be happy to go in for that. But it's one of them with Real Madrid, isn't it? Like, even when United were winning Champions League, winning Premier Leagues, we still, you know, we're losing players to Real Madrid. Like, look at Ronaldo, you know, Champions League with Manchester United, Premier League with Manchester United, still wanted to go and move over to Real Madrid. Like, they've got that pull for a lot of players, and that's just something you've got to deal with, unfortunately. Alan says, Beth, are you Brazilian? No, I'm not. I just like the top. Is that all right? Is that all right? Supporting them in Copa America. Got Tantric Monkey saying João Neves and Yoro to replace Casemiro and Varane would be the club's first choice. In reality, it will probably get Ugarte and Branthwaite, which is still really good. Branthwaite is different to Yoro for me. The one thing I can't understand about Branthwaite is, you know, obviously he's predominantly a left-sided centre-back. He can play both. But Branthwaite, I would say, is our top priority centre-back, but the way we've gone about things. Maybe Todibo, but obviously that's not been able to develop because of UEFA. But, you know, I don't understand why we'd be buying Branthwaite to play as a right-sided centre-back. Surely you should be going for, you know, a specialist right-sided centre-back. Like, Branthwaite is predominantly left-sided. He can play both. Of course he can. But it's like, you know, it's like a club going and getting Dallo to play left-back. He can play left-back, but his predominant position is a right-back. Like, you just go and buy a left-back. So it's an interesting one because Martinez obviously is our best centre-back and he's the left-sided centre-back. So I'll be interested to see if we buy Branthwaite, how we line up. If we do line up with him at right-sided centre-back, maybe we do. He can play with both feet, really, and, you know, he can do both. But you would think that you're buying him to be a left-sided centre-back, and that's why we're also in the market for a Todibo and a Yoro, like you were just saying. Like, I see Branthwaite as our left-sided centre-back target, and I see Todibo and Yoro as our right-sided centre-back target. Also, Gleison Bremer, who Romano has spoken about, said keep an eye on him if we can't accelerate the Todibo or the Yoro deal. He's a right-sided centre-back. So I see Branthwaite coming as a left-sider, which puts the cats amongst the pigeons because, you know, Martinez is absolutely insane and he's our left-sided centre-back. So, yeah, I'm not sure how that works out. Gaz V8686 says, I take Tchouaméni off Real every day of the week and twice on Sundays. He's so good, but he's a rotational player for Real Madrid. Oh my gosh, I'd absolutely love Tchouaméni, but that would cost you an arm and a leg, so there's no way that we're going to be going in for that. And Javon Paul says Yoro wants Madrid. Yeah, we know that, but if it breaks down, he's still going to move, and Man United still a big step up from Lille, and I think he'd still encourage that move. So we've just got to keep an eye on the Real Madrid and Yoro deal. But now Nacho's left Madrid, I see that accelerating, to be honest. But we'll keep an eye on it. We are in contact. The one thing I would say about United at the moment, we have got our fingers in loads of pies. Like, we're making contact. We're trying to get deals done. Like, we are. When it's not like usual summers where we're just focused on one player and we just keep hearing about the same player over and over again. Like, we're speaking to Yoro, we're speaking to Xerxes. You know, we were very advanced in the Todibo deal. We're trying to get the Branthwaite deal done. We've already made contact about Ugarte. João Neves, we've been in contact as well. So, you know, Manchester United have got their fingers in a lot of pies. They are testing the waters all over the place. We've just not managed to kind of get down a solidified player yet to bring in the transfer window. But we are working to try and make things happen. And the good thing is we've got multiple options. It's not all or nothing. It's not all the eggs in one basket, which is really important because you're not always going to be able to pull off your first choice. Do you remember that summer when it was De Jong all summer and then we couldn't end up getting him, and last minute it was like pivot. Oh, you know, Casemiro, let's get Casemiro in. And it was all last minute, and it after the season started. This summer, we're speaking to a lot of agents, we're speaking to, you know, a lot of different clubs. On the Ugarte stuff, apparently we're speaking to PSG about a number of players, not just Ugarte. So we are having these conversations and we're making sure that we've got, you know, different options in place, which I think is super important because ideally you want the majority of your transfer business to be done before that USA pre-season tour. Before we're on the plane to the USA on the pre-season tour, you want your business done, which currently, you know, on the 26th of June, we're going to have to speed things along because they fly on I think they fly on the 23rd, 24th of July. So you've got like a month to get things sorted. I don't think every player will be sorted, but what I would love is going into that pre-season tour with a new centre-back, a new midfielder and a new striker. You know, if we have to get the left back a bit later, we have to get the left back a little bit later. But them 3 signings, ideally, is what you want going on that pre-season tour. And on top of that, which is almost as important, you don't want Sancho there, you don't want Van der Beek there, you don't want Greenwood there, you don't want Hannibal there. Like, you know, no disrespect to a lot of these players, but you don't want the players there that aren't part of Erik ten Hag's plans. You want to get that sorted as well. So we're going to be busy throughout the month of July. We're going to be busy. Anyone got the holidays booked in at Man United are going to have to, you know, move them back a little bit, or hopefully, you know, we've got everyone working on this because, you know, a month goes by so quickly. So we've got a lot to do. But we have started the ball moving. The ball rolling. Next thing I wanted to talk about before we move on to the naming rights, because that poll is still going, because we are going to discuss it. I've got a lot to say on that, and I think a couple of people are going to disagree with me, especially looking at the poll. Let me have a look at what you guys are saying. I can't see the vote, but if I could see the vote, that would be great. Just quickly, it's come out recently as well from the Liverpool Echo, so a source within Liverpool, which is obviously where Everton is that there is absolutely no interest from Everton on using Lindelof or Wan-Bissaka as part of a swap deal for Jarrad Branthwaite to get the price down. They're not interested in that whatsoever. So, you know, Lindelof and Wan-Bissaka, Everton aren't interested, which I think speaks volumes because, you know, so many people I hear saying, we need to keep Wan-Bissaka because he's such a good defensive right back. You know, Lindelof knows his place as a rotational centre back. No, we need to elevate the levels of this squad, and the squad, there's a reason why we've only had interest in Wan-Bissaka from Turkey, really, and I think there's been a little bit of interest from Italy, but there's been nothing like worthy in terms of offers money-wise for Wan-Bissaka that we'd want. Lindelof, he had offers from Fenerbahce because Mourinho rates him. I think there's been slight interest from Spain, but there's nothing really going on there. And, you know, Everton isn't really that interested in either player. Well, they're not interested in either player, according to Liverpool Echo. I think that shows the standard of our squad, really, and that's why we struggle to sell players. It's why we struggle, because I think a lot of the fans think the players are better than what they actually are. And we're trying to compete, you know, we're trying to compete for Champions League, we're trying to compete at the top of the Premier League, and we're not able to do that because our players just simply aren't good enough, and we need to elevate the standards of our squad 100%. It's so hard to find clubs that want our players, and that's just the fact of the matter. One, because the contracts are massive, which hinders us because of stupid deals we've done in the past. When Ed Woodward was controlling things, you know, the contracts we've given out are massively off-putting to other clubs who can't pay that, especially for the quality of that they offer. But also the quality of our players just aren't as good as what needs to be, what it needs to be at Manchester United. So something we need to address. MKF says true, but I'd rather get a right-sided centre-back who's done it for a good while and a left-sided centre-back to back up Leacher, to Debo plus Branthwaite or Gahey. Marcel says Reinders might be talking to Xerxes to come to Milan. I like Reinders, by the way, of what I've seen of him so far in the Euros, but yeah, Xerxes got everything in place with Milan, but at the end of the day, honestly, get in the chat, what's a more attractive proposition right now, Milan or Manchester United? I still think Manchester United trumps it. It's just all the agreements have been done with Milan, and it's whether we can start accelerating that. Also, United have, you know, triggered the release clause for Xerxes so they can talk to the player and try and get an agreement. But according to Romano on Monday, we haven't fully solidified what striker we want to go for. We're still assessing the options, really. Stuart Crispin says, should have gone in first for Douglas Luiz, solid Prem player. I would have absolutely loved Douglas Luiz. I think he's a brilliant player. I think he's underrated. I think Aston Villa, it's mind-blowing the deal that they're doing for him, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't know if the deal has changed, but initially when I saw it a few weeks ago, I thought Juventus were getting the better end of the deal on that one. Douglas Luiz is a top player in my opinion, but I just don't think Aston Villa would have sold him to a Premier League club, to be honest with you. So, yeah, anyway, he's going to Juventus. Double, it's a couples deal. I think his girlfriend, Alicia Lehmann's going the other way as well, which, is that a first in football? But anyway, let's move on to the naming rights stuff that's coming out from Adam Crafton, a brilliant journalist for The Athletic, put out a great article on the naming rights for Old Trafford and how we are looking to raise money to build a new Old Trafford, whether that be a refurbished Old Trafford or a completely new stadium. It's not yet been finalised. On the poll, I would love to know what the result is. If, Greg, you could let me know what the result is. So 71% of you said, would you welcome being Old Trafford renamed? And you said no. 71% say no. Very interesting, and it's the exact reaction I thought I was going to get. Let me go through it. Let me go through it now. So, it's coming out that Manchester United are considering selling the naming rights to a refurbished Old Trafford or a newly built stadium as part owner Sir Jim Ratcliffe seeks to drive up revenues to fund the project, while the club is also deliberating over substantial ticket price rises. As somebody who pays the price to go to Old Trafford, I really don't want the price to rise. It's already risen this year, and I don't want it to rise again. But people are always going to pay it. It's Manchester United, one of the biggest clubs in the world. So, you know, that's unfortunate, but it looks like it's going to happen. And, you know, these things happen in football as long as it shouldn't go to a silly price. And, you know, the price it's gone up to this year is expensive as well. But anyway, I won't get into that. We're talking about the naming rights here. But yeah, so they're considering selling the naming rights. United have also held exploratory talks with major financial institutions, including the Bank of America, as they explore a series of funding options to raise the capital required to cover a potential multi-billion-pound project. Bank of America, Old Trafford, what do you think about it? So, first of all, before I get into a little bit more details, I wanted to say this. I put out a tweet earlier, and this is what I said. I said, Old Trafford will always be named Old Trafford. If it says company name in front of it, i.e. Bank of America Old Trafford, nobody will call it Bank of America Old Trafford, apart from commentators or pundits, you know, when they're commentating on a game. The majority of people will still just call it Old Trafford. Not having naming rights nowadays, you are looking at a massive financial loss. It's huge in terms of bringing in revenue to fund the costs of the stadium and definitely a state-of-the-art new stadium. So if we're not willing to budge a little bit on the naming rights, how do people expect us to generate money? Like this, a new stadium's going to cost over 2 billion. Revamping Old Trafford's going to cost $1 billion. Like, how do people expect us to generate money? Everyone nowadays is using naming rights because it's an easy way to have a massive influx of cash. But it's not going to change anything because no one's going to call it the Bank of America Old Trafford. Everyone's just going to call it Old Trafford. So I would be open to it if, for example, if it was Bank of America Old Trafford, I'd be okay with that if it means that we can get a new state-of-the-art stadium that's the best of the best. I wouldn't be okay with Old Trafford being completely taken out of the name. Like, Old Trafford should still be in the name. It's like the Spotify Camp Nou. Everyone just still calls it the Camp Nou. And they're getting a lot of money from that. So Man United need to be smart here, and Sir Jim Ratcliffe is a businessman, and that is why I would be open to it personally. So I know the majority of you guys have said no, 71%, but it's a massive financial loss if we don't do that, and the money's got to come from somewhere. So as long as it isn't something stupid, and as long as we don't completely take Old Trafford out of the name, I think I would be open to it. Bank of America, Old Trafford, that would be fine for me, because they're going to pay a lot of money for that. And, you know, shirt sponsors could come from that. You know, there could be a sign on the side of the stadium that they could pay massive amounts of money for. There's so much money you can get from a sponsorship deal like that. Manchester United are absolutely right to be looking into that, in my opinion. It's like Carrington, right? Nobody calls Carrington the Aon Training Complex. Who calls Carrington the Aon Training Complex? Nobody. Everyone just calls it Carrington. Yet Aon probably pay a lot of money for it to be called the Aon Training Complex. So, you know, you've got to read between the lines on this stuff. It doesn't mean the name's going to just completely change, but a slight change and adjustment to bring in a lot of money, I would be open to. But get in the comments down below what you think. Yeah, a lot of you guys are kind of coming around to it and saying that you're agreeing with me on that, which is nice to know. Hopefully I've explained it in a way that it kind of makes you more open to it. I've seen a lot of people in the chat saying, I just don't want it to be like a soulless bowl. And 100%, like, obviously we're moving on to talking about the actual stadium here, but if we do build a new stadium, you want to have the heritage of Old Trafford still being there. You want it to still be as authentic as it possibly can be. You don't just want a soulless bowl. I'm completely understanding. I've spoken about the fact that I think a completely new stadium would be the better option, just in terms of, you know, the train tracks and the railway, like everything surrounding Old Trafford now. It'd be super hard to kind of build what we want to build with all of the obstructions that we would face. I know architects are like state of the art nowadays, but you could build the new stadium next to Old Trafford, but you could also keep the Old Trafford pitch and turn it into a youth and women's stadium and just knock down like a couple of the stands to make it a little bit of a smaller venue, but you actually keep the pitch and you make it a youth/women's stadium, and you keep, you know, the Munich tunnel through that as well, and you keep the statues surrounding. You make it basically a campus, which I think would be absolutely brilliant for Manchester United, and it would be brilliant for the surrounding area as well. Luke Wright says we don't need to sell out. Yeah, but Luke, there's so many people that want a refurb stadium or want a new stadium. How do you expect us to make the money? We are in massive amounts of debt. Sir Jim Ratcliffe is trying his best to try and get an influx of cash from the government to invest in the surrounding area as well. But this is going to be a very, very, very costly project, and naming rights give you a big portion of cash that can help to bring this project to life. So like I said, as long as it's not silly, I'm open to it. But a little bit more in the article that I wanted to bring in, which I thought was actually quite interesting, because I did read the full article. It was great if you want to go on The Athletic and check that out. Adam Crafton also said it's unclear at this stage whether the club or Ineos, the company owned by Ratcliffe, would carry the burden of fresh debt if money is borrowed to fund the infrastructure project. The financial results from last year obviously revealed that we're still in, I think it's over £600 million worth of debt, which is crazy. And it also revealed that the 120 million of Ratcliffe's 238 million cash injection into the club, which had been pledged to go towards the infrastructure, has been used to pay down money on United's revolving credit facility, which is really disappointing. It's really disappointing. You know, Sir Jim Ratcliffe pledged to invest 238 million in cash into infrastructure at Manchester United, and 120 million of that has already just gone onto the revolving credit because we are in debt. So that was disappointing to read, to be honest with you. And it's mad, isn't it? You're talking about 238 million in cash there, and you think, like, you're looking at the figures and you start to think that's barely anything, even though it's absolutely huge. When you're talking about billions, like, realistically, when you're talking about how much Carrington, you know, this summer we're having a complete refurb of Carrington, how much that's going to cost you. You know, money, you know, you could spend it so easily in this modern climate. But yeah, like, you look at different stadiums. For example, I've already spoken about the Spotify Camp Nou. Also, you look at Wembley, the English National Arena is called the Wembley Stadium, connected by EE. Nobody says the Wembley Stadium connected by EE, but they will probably pay a fair chunk of money to have that onto the stadium name. So there is ways you can go about this where it's not soulless and you're not completely selling out. You've still got the heritage of Old Trafford there. And realistically, who really cares if it says Old Trafford connected by Bank of America? Like, who really cares about that if you've got a new state-of-the-art stadium that is going to take your club forward? Some people might, but to me, I don't think it's that deep, because I will always call it Old Trafford. I know we'll always call it Old Trafford on the shows, and I know as a community and as a fan base, everyone will still call it Old Trafford. So that's where we're at on the naming rights story. We'll see how that develops. And someone just said, AL71B says, I care. Well, if it means not being able to get a new stadium and keeping with Old Trafford the way it is, this is what I always say. Like, I think people who go to Old Trafford, and obviously correct me if I'm wrong, but people who go to Old Trafford on a regular basis knows we need a new stadium or we need massive refurbishment. Like, people know that. I know it's scary, I know it is, and I know there's so much history there, but people who go on a regular basis knows that there's massive investment needed into that stadium. And in order to do that, we've got to make money from somewhere. So you know, you've just got to be clever with it. That's the way you've got to be. But look, everyone, that's where we're at the minute. I know there's so many different people getting in their opinions, and Gems has just said all these new stadiums lose their individuality and atmosphere. Old Trafford holds a lot of history. I completely get that. But, you know, you've also got to move on with the times. We can't continue to be stuck in the past. We've got to move on, and I think you've got to try and strive to be the best of the best, and I think the new stadium is how we do that. Personally, we can create our own atmosphere. You've just got to build it right. You've got to have, you know, the pitch close to the fans. You know, you keep the stands close to the pitch, which is what you like at Old Trafford, which I think is good. And you've got to build a stadium that encourages that sort of atmosphere, and you can build your new memories. You can have the atmosphere with the fan base that's going to be going inside of it. You've just got to build a stadium that, you know, complements that as well. But look, everyone, going to leave that there for the afternoon show. Get in all your opinions. Do you think the Yoro deal could be on, or do you think Real is destined to go to Real Madrid? Let me know how you feel about the Ugarte story as well. Get in the comments down below what you think about the naming rights and everything to do with Old Trafford. We've kind of not talked about that in a while, the new stadium, but it is something to look forward to, I think, in terms of we are going to either refurb or build a new stadium, and we are going to be moving forward into the future. And get your opinions down below as well on any other transfer news that you have. Hit a like on the video. Do remember, we will be back on That's Football at 4:30 for the 5 p.m. kickoffs. You've got the Belgium group, you've got Slovakia and Ukraine and Belgium and Romania, I think it is. They're going to be two cracking games, so make sure you head over to That's Football for that and join us for that double watch along. England could get one of them teams depending on how it goes today. Also, you've got the 8 p.m. ones with the Portugal group as well. It's a great day of football, everyone. When England aren't playing, the football actually might be decent. But look, everyone, thank you for watching. Hit a like on the video. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we will see you on the next one.